All right, welcome everybody. This is my interview with Aragmar, the author of the Starshatter series. And how are you doing today?
Oh, well, I'm doing excellent. It's a great day.
Well, I wanted to do something today for everybody before we started. You sent me a recipe for Kvass, and I'm going to
Yes.
try it. I spent the last 3 days getting this prepared, and I got some dubious looks from my brother, but we're going to give this a shot. All right, here we go. That's not bad. I like that. It's very lemony.
Yes, maybe you could add less lemon if it's not to your taste.
Oh, I love lemon, but sometimes I go a little bit crazy with. But anyway, let's get into our questions. So, in your series, the humans have elevated several animals to sentience and have made them client races. These races include bunnies, hamsters, and gorillas. Why, canonically, were these races chosen, and why, as the author, did you choose them?
Well, it's part of the extended lore of the series, but it's not something which I would like. I would decline to talk about because it's not a secret, and it's not a spoiler. So basically, these were picked even before the events which unfolded in the first book, which I think it's one of the many events you kind of liked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm of course speaking about the 1969
Right.
invasion. Yeah. So yes, the three animal species, they were picked, chosen even before that. With some of them, like the gorillas, for example, they were probably one of the first to be chosen back during the Second World War, or the version of like Second World War in this universe,
Mm-hmm.
which they called the Great War. So they were the first to be picked. They already had like some knowledge of how to do it, and they began slowly, very slowly. And as you know, the gorillas, they are intelligent. They can learn sign language. You can actually communicate with them. It's different with, for example, with the bunnies and hamsters. Like they were a late addition. That happened. Their uplift process happened long after the war,
Mm-hmm.
during the 50s, when they already had, like, humanity had contact with different alien races, and most importantly with the Killer Ram, who gave them some various technologies and knowledge. And the process with them was lengthier. It was harder.
You're saying because the gorillas were already so close to where we are, it was
Yeah.
easier with them. They were kind of the
Yes.
test case.
Yeah, but it's not only that they were the test case. The particular tribe in Congo, which they first began like the test trials on them, they actually volunteered for this.
Oh,
No, they weren't like just sedated and dragged into some lab and stuff. No.
as come with me, you're about to become a lot more intelligent. No, let me stay in the jungle, please.
No.
I want to eat the trees. No. So why did you, as the author, pick these animals?
Well, I had things that happened to me in real life with bunnies and hamsters. Not so much with the gorillas. I've seen gorillas in the zoo, but that's a different case. And those cases, those things which happened, they kind of inspired me to think about what would happen, what would these like animals look if they were uplifted, if they were given sages. And it was a long process, which in the end you see the results.
Well, it certainly did change them. They seem to be a lot bigger than they are in our real world.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Well, I want to move on to our next question because this one's actually got me a little bit excited. So in your universe, there's a lot of weapons, and a lot of them are based off of real-world companies, and I think some of them are based off of real-world weapons like laser rifles, plasma guns, railguns, and a variety of explosives. If you had the chance, which of these weapons would you take for yourself, and what are some of your favorites out of your books?
Oh, well, I would probably take a railgun. Rifle, maybe something more compact like the Mannlicher carbines, which they have built and upgraded and modified for maybe 50 years or more, and especially these carbines, these types of carbines, they are considered more of a light infantry weapon, more like a civilian self-defense weapon, because they are very light, they are cheap, they are reliable, and they are very accurate. And they can be like even people who are not professional gunsmiths. They can modify them, upgrade them, etc., repair them in the field. It's a very robust platform.
That sounds like fun.
And therefore I would pick this, and then probably one of Krupp's laser weapons, like maybe a pistol, one of the heavier ones. We'll see. It's also very reliable, but a bit power hungry. And it's something which you would use from close range, because it's, that beams, they dissipate with range. It's not something
right.
They lose focus. Yeah.
So of the manufacturers you've mentioned, who do you think would make the best ones?
Probably, let's see. Probably. I'm thinking that long, because in my head I have to. I remember most of them,
right.
But there are just a couple of. For example, there is an old Martian manufacturer. Let me see which one was that.
You definitely
I think
have to go
it was.
with the Martians.
Oh yes, it's they have a couple of items. They are not like one of the huge, big old companies, but for like people in the solar system, and especially people who live on Mars, like they are well known. I'll just check it out. Give me a second. I have the files.
You've probably got extensive notes.
Oh, of course. Which was the. Yes, they have like a very famous heavy laser pistol called the Lava Lance.
The Lava Lance?
Yeah, which is how should I put it? It's overpowered.
Well, it's called the Lava Lance. I imagine
Yes.
It melts pretty much everything.
It comes with an integrated overcharge module. It is basically, there is a firing selector switch, but most people who buy it, they just flip it forever to overcharge. They don't bother like firing like normal shots with this. So yeah, I would pick this. Yes,
So
I would pick this.
This is like on overload. This can melt a car. On regular, it can melt a bike. Why would I ever want to melt a bike?
Yes. The problem here is that like space age weaponry like this, for example, you could, if you come here and if you shoot at a car, yes, you will melt it. But if you in the context of their universe, their cars are built from different materials. You will blow a hole in the car, but you will not melt the entire car with a single shot. Yes. It's different.
You got my hopes up and then you dashed them. Oh, well. Let's go to our next question. So you've assembled quite a cast of characters, or at least as far as I've gotten in the books, which is only to the second book. What's your favorite to write, and which do you find the most challenging?
What's my favorite character?
Well, just your favorite character to write.
Well, I'm split. Maybe the so-called baddies. The villains are very interesting to write from their point of view, because you've seen that in my books I always try to have their point of view, because from their point of view they're not villains,
Of course.
They have like exploring their goals, their worldview, their culture, their civilizational values, everything.
Mm-hmm.
It makes for a very interesting exercise of mind, especially when it comes to Tazarans.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just like any empire or big nation, you have many types of people with different goals, different emotions, different IQ, even of course. And you can't say that if you read first about some forcefully conscript Tazarans who are probably not the smartest chickens in the coop.
They probably
and
also
then,
don't want to be there.
Oh yes, and then you finally read about someone like Umasa.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the ways I can demonstrate. I can make the reader see the different things, the little things, have them experience you use the different types of villains, the different personalities,
mm-hmm.
and their abilities, like their mental capacity and skills, etc., to make it easier for the reader to see the differences between them. And not only like you do not only compare the villains with the heroic characters. You have different levels of villains, by the way. Mm-hmm. So you can compare between them. Just like in the real world, you don't have like if you go outside and meet with a street gang of thugs, all of them will not be of genius intellect. They'll probably have someone to lead them who is much smarter and more vicious, etc.
Right.
But this is normal.
Mm-hmm. Well, if everybody was a genius, it would make life a lot more difficult.
Oh yes.
By the way, my favorite character is still Mr. Spookums.
Oh, Mr. Spookums. His people are very ubiquitous. I should say, and you will read more about him. Mr. Spookums is not some random person. He's there because he has to be there. He serves a purpose. Like all characters, even the secondary, the tertiary ones, like they are in the books because they serve a purpose. They have to be there.
He seems to be the competent professional in almost every situation he's in. It's one of the reasons I like him so much. But moving on, every science fiction universe has its methods of navigation. Like with the Star Wars universe, they have their nav computers. With the 40K universe, they have their astropaths. How is it that the people in your universe navigate from one place to the other? Aside from the warp drives, what lets them know they're going where they need to go?
Well, it's without oiling. What I can say is that they have navigational charts, mm-hmm. and they use either hyperspace routes or wormholes. And the entire technology, I mean, lore-wise, in the legends of the universe, mm-hmm. many people say that it was actually developed after they attempted to copy what the telepaths were doing, because the telepaths can actually fold space. It's linked with hyperspace and the flesh of the universe, etc. But this is probably something which most children in the galaxy would learn in school, and their teachers will say, "Oh yes, hyperspace technology, yes." That was developed millions and millions of years ago because people wanted to have a different way of traveling than relying entirely on telepaths. Because in the legends of the universe, it's every ship had to have a telepath, and these telepaths were immensely powerful. Probably you could imagine that some certain things happened. Mm-hmm. So yes, it's when you rely on some group for so long and they have achieved such great power and influence, it is probably impossible to assume that every single one of them will remain totally pure and incorruptible, because it's impossible.
Well, I imagine they were also rather rare, which limited the number of
Oh
ships.
yes, that too. Yeah. So that's and like this is the part of the human, the Terran culture. The spacers are the people who explore and they find new wormholes, new hyperspace routes, new star systems. A very dangerous location. You have to be really skilled, learned, and lucky. But like all groups of spacers are different. They have different clans because they have different occupation. They all work together. They help and sell information to each other. For example, let's say the haulers, who are considered to be space trekkers, basically, they would buy star charts from other traders if they can, or like the scrappers who go and look for like derelict spaceships and space stations and such. They might find some data in the computers of the salvage ships, or restore some badly damaged memory crystal, and then find like new navigation information, and they will share it with explorers, the spacers who are actually doing the proper exploring. So yeah, if you have like the necessary star charts, you can hyperspace jump, but it's not an all powerful way. It has its own limits and, of course, dangers. And compared to wormhole traveling, like wormhole, it's a bit slower than hyperspace, but it's safer. It's considered safe.
So I imagine being a spacer is quite a profitable career.
Oh yes. And yeah, that's why their culture is so colorful, and they love different aspects of the civilian life, from the books.
Well, I just got to where we got to meet Vasilisa's family, and it's quite an extensive family, I have to say. It's a lot of kids over there.
Oh yes, yes. You can imagine that they love. A lot of them die. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
You can't escape it. It's not even in an utopia like Star Trek. You still have accidents. And a lot of people die exploring space. It's probably many more times as dangerous here, and it's not because the technological disparity or something. It's just that the universe it's
very dangerous.
Yep.
All right. Let me get to another question because it's roughly my lunchtime and this one's weighing on me. Food is a big part of your stories, with the team bonding over good food and Captain Anitsa making everyone their favorite dishes. Did you do a lot of research for the food aspect, and what dishes would you like to try from your stories?
Yes, I did. Maybe 2 years of research. No, two and a half years, probably. I spoke to a lot of home chefs, and I know a couple of people who worked on ships as cooks. It's not only from just like watching other sci-fi or reading other sci-fi that yes, the ship has to have a mess hall, and yes, they have to. It's not only for your body, but it's healthy for your mind. It's an aspect which you cannot escape from. So yeah, I did a lot of research, just like everything in the series. So yes, it's some of the cooks, they told me that if they would make something bad, they would feel it. First, the crew will feel it, and then they will feel it. if you catch my drift.
Yes.
So the thing which I would try from my books, probably the cold stuffed octo chicken, Vanitsa.
Octo chicken.
Oh yes, that's from book 3. So yeah, the story of this is like I will not spoil everything. I will just say that the octo chicken is a specially genetically engineered organism which combines chicken and an octopus. And it's a land/aquatic form of life. It lays eggs, and it can live like in most environments, even if it's like a marshland or whatever. And they are fairly big. I mean, they are like the size of not the size of an ostrich, but smaller than an ostrich.
Maybe like a turkey or a...
Yeah, slightly bigger than a turkey. So it's a big animal. It's, how should I put it? It's not a very timid animal. It can tentacle slap you pretty hard if you're not like careful. But generally, if you're a farmer and on some fringe planet, like you probably need something like this because it's a source of eggs, meat. It disposes of your food scraps. In some cases, it even eats local rodent population and other pests because it's an omnivore. So it's a very nice creature and very tasty.
That sounds like a farmer's dream, but a little bit Japanese themed, though.
Maybe.
Oh, Lord. All right, well, I'll move on to our last question since we're almost at our time. You're one of the hardest working authors I've probably ever met, but everybody needs a little bit of downtime and some time for their mind to rest. What do you like to do in your rare moments of free time?
Maybe people will get angry when I say that I probably sneak more research into my downtime instead of actually using it entirely to rest. I steal hours from my downtime to do more research, and that would be maybe videos or reading material which I have scheduled for research to augment the different aspects of my work. For example, lately I had to watch a couple of, well, more than a couple of, but yes, it's different videos. Some are about cars, for example, different car cultures from around the world. Mm-hmm. And this week was from Japan, especially drifting.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
And last week was gardening. Before that was home beautification. Before that was small research project about rocket weapons. Right. Because I especially anti-tank RPGs, handheld RPGs. And then if we're talking like pure downtime, mm-hmm. with no work and such, I would say that the best way for me is long walks early in the morning. And by early, I'm talking 4 or 5 a.m. in the morning.
That is a daunting hour right there.
Yeah, it's because probably the lack of noise, mm-hmm. and that I don't have to deal with a lot of traffic and such because I'm in the city, and I can quickly reach one of the parks, the big parks nearby. Also bicycle rides and just being somewhere quiet outside.
I do love to bike. We have a 10-mile trail just near my house, actually.
Then you're blessed. We don't have trails here. It's more like survive on the road. But when you
play Dodge car,
yeah, or Dodge truck, or anything. But when you get to the parks are very nice. And if you go early in the morning, they're not full. They're not overflowing with people, so you'll get plenty of calm and probably not as much bird chirping, but because the birds are still sleeping. But yeah, that's about it. I mean, I also like the occasional beer with friends, but these days it's mostly work.
Okay. Well, I think that about wraps up our time. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience before we go?
Well, I would like to thank the audience, give me a chance, because as most indie authors know, it's we are indie authors. We are not we do not have huge publishing houses behind us, and more often than not, our technical skills are not augmented by professional editors and such. But we would love to learn more and become better authors. So yes, I am grateful to the audience giving me a chance and reading my work.
Well, thank you for being here today. I really appreciate the chance to get to interview you.
Thank you for having me.
And you have a great day.
You too.